Hope it is.
Thanks.
Not bad. Start the camera all good. Evening, everyone. Tonight's ordinary council meeting is declared open at 5:30 p.m. Welcome. Just a reminder for everyone before I get into opening procedures, tonight is the decision-making night. So we had the forum last week with the questions, and we're going to make decisions on every agenda item that's presented before us. Members of the public do have a chance to participate, and I'll direct them through that. So there's two chances, and I'm saying this to the cameras, we'll get into that in a minute. So that's during public questions and statement time, which is actually called deputations here. So I'll go to the members of the gallery or the members of the public at that time. So still 5:30, so we're on item number 2 on page 6, which is opening procedures. 2.1 is acknowledgement of country, so the Shire of Northern would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians on the land in which we meet, and that is both the Balaron and Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation, and we pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. Item 2.2 is recording of council meetings. So members of council are well aware, and members of the gallery, I know because I've spoken to one of them last night about this, it has been live streamed and recorded as we go. And it's made available on the Shire of Northern's YouTube channel, so it's still there, so you can find it pretty easily. If members of the public would like to have access to the recording of this meeting, they can do so via the Shire of Northern website. Item 3 is attendance, so attendees. We have 8 councillors sitting around the table, so as usual I'll go from left to right to welcome them. So we've got Councillor Bigland, Councillor Gierak, Councillor Lyon, Councillor Mencelli, President Antonio, that's myself, Councillor Appleton, Councillor Polden, Councillor Hughes, welcome back. We have the staff, we have the CEO, we have the Exec Manager Engineering Services, Mr Devsich, Exec Manager Development and Community Services, Mr Hunt, Exec Manager Corporate Services, Mr Young, Manager Governance and Risk, Ms McCall, Governance Officer, Ms Van Beek, and we'll get to apologies in a minute. So 3.2 apologies. We have an apology from Councillor Williams and a policy from Governance Support Officer Ms Joyner. So that'll be noted. So in the minutes as they get distributed after the meeting. So item 3.3 is approved leave of absence. It's nil, that's on page 7. And 3.4 absent is nil, and that's on page 7. So we go to page 8. Does work. So item 4 is disclosure of interest. We have quite a few, so bear with me on this. So we have item 13.1.1. Yeah. So I'm just going to do a summary of this moment, councillors, because as I get to the item that it relates to, I'm just going to read the declaration and all the reasons for it as well. So item 13.1.1, which is licence and lease agreement, 3rd Hawke Precinct. President Antonio, that's myself, and Councillor Hughes have declared impartiality. Item 13.3.1, which is proposed local planning policy number 27, tree retention. Councillors Polton and Councillor Bigland have declared impartiality. Item 13.3.2, state significant application. 13, state significant development application, proposed hydrogen plant and extension of the solar farm. President Antonio has declared impartiality. Councillor Bigland has declared impartiality. Councillor Ryan has declared impartiality. And Councillor Gierak has declared impartiality, and Mr Hunt has declared impartiality in this item. So we go to page 9. And we have item 13.3.3, which is Scheme Amendment 21, One Dowry Rural Town Site. Councillor Bigland has declared proximity, so won't be taking part in any debate or decision making in that item. President Antonio has declared impartiality. Councillor Gierek has declared impartiality. Councillor Polton has declared impartiality. Councillor Mencelli has declared impartiality. Councillor Appleton has declared impartiality. Councillor Ryan has declared impartiality. And Councillor Hughes has declared impartiality. So 13.3.4, which is request for extension, Spencer's Brook Station Masters House Management Plan. So Councillor Gierek, Councillor Bigland, Councillor Polton and Councillor Mencelli have all declared impartiality in this item. So then the next item is 13.4.3, rates waiver request, Northern Country Club, A11234. President Antonio, Councillor Mencelli, Councillor Gierek, Councillor Hughes and Mr Hunt have all declared impartiality in this item. Then we have item 15.1, motion to change council decision C.322, pedestrian access way adjacent to 16 Brown Road and 51 Olive Road, 1 Dowie. President Antonio, Councillor Bigland, Councillor Mencelli and Councillor Ryan have all declared impartiality. And we have a matter behind closed doors, which is item 14.1, which we'll get to the details as we get to it. Councillor Hughes has declared impartiality. And as all councillors are well aware, but I'm just reminding the members of the public, as an item comes up, they can actually, before we start any discussion or debate, councillors are able to make a declaration at that time. And we'll get back to that as the item comes up. We are now on page 11, so that's item number 5, which is announcements by the presiding member without discussion, so I take that as read. So then we go to page 13, which is item number 6, public questions. So I will defer to the members of the gallery or members of the public if you'd like to ask any questions. And
I have a question, thanks Chris.
Do you need to come up to the microphone, please?
Further?
And yeah, just say your name after the recording.
I've just lost the page.
Apologies for that.
No, there it is. My question is, on page 321 in the budget, there's an allocation of $440,000 to railway museum works, none of which has been committed at the moment. Being as we're almost at the end of 2025, effectively, we're getting to the end, what work is that $440,000 allocated to? And could it not be allocated to the shovel ready as a work project that we've already got going with $120,000 of state government money to replace a platform, which has, as you may or may not know, been significantly pruned down from what it was because the project now fits the budget.
I'm going to defer to the members, the officers for that one. Mr Young's going to answer that one for me.
Yes, Mr. Pollard, it's actually grant funded. We have been trying to get a grant to do further upgrades at the Railway and Heritage Building, and at the moment we have been unsuccessful in getting the grant, so we don't have the money until we have a grant. We have some seed funding with it, but the actual allocation, the bulk of it is relying on grant funding.
So what were these? Sorry, what were the grants for? What work were they for? Because I'm on the Northern Heritage Forum Committee and we're not aware of any other plans other than the platform.
It was just a general upgrade to the building. I don't know exactly what it was. I think the grant put in just done for a heritage grant to upgrade the building. I can't specify what.
Sure.
What we'll do with that, you take it on notice so we can provide the
I
details. So that's what I was
obviously, but the fact is, the works that's been proposed now for the $120,000 grant that the Heritage Forum secured 5 years ago, prior to the last state election, or 4 years ago, is only going to do a certain section of the platform, and other sections of the platform are in as bad or worse condition than the section that we're actually doing for the 120,000. So the 440 was there. We already have a project.
Yeah. So I'll probably just clarify the question, Mr Young said that 120,000.
And the 120,000 is secured. The rest of the funding at this point in time is unsecured. We're trying to forward grant funding for it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. So any further questions from members of the public? Yes. Are you as well? I'm just going to get you to come up and say your name, please.
Kathy Saunders. Good evening, Mr. President, councillors and managers, gallery. Last week, Jeff Hall and myself, representing the Northern Country Club, attended the forum meeting. I refer you to 13.4.3 rates waiver request. I hope everyone has taken some time to consider the proposal, and I'll just refer to the officer's comments and my question. The rates waiver request also does not meet the requirement for a rates exemption under section 6.26 of the Local Government Act 1995. Question, how does this get changed? And following on from there,
Local Government Act. I just want to clarify the question, sorry, Kathy. So
Okay.
how do you change the Local Government Act?
how do you change that, the requirement for a rates exemption under section 6.25?
I'll definitely refer to the officers for that one.
Okay.
There is ways around it. There can be a discount applied by council against the rates, and the discount can be for anything up to 100% of the rate. And that would be adopted in the year it happens with the adoption of that budget.
Thank you for that.
We're just going to clarify a bit more on that one.
Yeah, so in terms of the actual section of the Act, it only applies for charitable purposes. There has been recent reforms to the Local Government Act. At this point in time, I don't think there's any further proposals to reform. It's state government legislation, and the state government would have to agree for that to be changed.
Okay, following on from that, if I refer you to B3 legislative compliance, it talks about the Local Government Act 1995 section 6.47 and allows council to waive a rate and service charge, and the concession 6.47, it says, subject to the rates and charges, Rebates and Deferments Act 1992, a local government may, at the time of imposing a rate or service charge, or at a later date resolve to waive a rate or service charge, or resolve to grant other concessions in relation to a rate or service charge. It's on page 305. I realise an absolute majority is required. And I ask the question, perhaps, is that how we could overturn, or how the councillors could overturn that recommendation that council support the request for a permanent waiver of the shire rates and charges for the Northern Country Club for the property at 15 Wood Drive, Northern?
I'll defer to the officers.
That was the section of the Act that I was referring to, and how
Yes.
it could be done by council.
Sorry, just want to clarify that could be done by council. Yeah, that's the answer, sorry.
Correct.
Pardon? It can't.
It could be.
It could be done. It says an absolute majority is required.
That's right.
So for B, point 3, legislative compliance, 6.47 concessions. I know that a couple of councillors were missing last week, took leave of absence, so Councillor Hughes being one, and I see Councillor Williams is absent this week. Just quick brief, last week Northern Country Club, its own sports and recreation, it's a unique combination of clubs, voluntarily managed and maintained by the board and the members. It's a sporting organisation, the same as the Northern Recreation Centre, Northern Country Club private versus Rec Centre public. Northern Country Club is rated, the Rec Centre's not. And it's a unique, Northern Country Club's unique. We're very fortunate to have management and volunteers and members. And just lastly, following on from that, will we get new signage on the Gamelling Wood Road to highlight that the facility is actually property of the Northern Country Club and not the Shire of Northern?
We're going to defer to the officers on that one. Is that Mr. Davis's question or Mr. Hunt's question?
You showed a photo of the sign last week. I think it's probably just an addition down the bottom of that sign that states that it was, the Shire of Northam, and that facility is also noted on there. I don't think the Shire claim is the Shire Act facility, but potentially look at it under the strategy that we have.
A lot of, we often get comments that a lot of the community think that it is a Shire-owned facility.
So, yeah, answer the question, we'll have a look at it. Yeah, we'll have a look at it, so, yeah. And I'm going to phrase your first one with a statement, say, was Councillor Hughes aware of everything? So, just so Councillor aware, so my daughter just phrased the question, was Councillor Hughes aware of that?
What's the whole?
Yeah, that's right, I probably don't have to answer, because then you are aware now, because Kathy went through it.
Thank you, Kirkland. Thank you.
All right, so any further questions from the public? No? So item number 7. So we've just got the item number 7 as response to previous questions taken, public questions taken notice. I'll quickly go through those because there was more information provided. So the following question was taken on notice at the Council Forum meeting on the 19th of February 2025 from Mr. Trent Frost. Mr. Frost is part of the Northern Windmill Cricket Association. Last year some remedial works were carried out on the oval for the clay. Is there plans to carry out the remaining works? And summary of answer 1 was Exec Manager Engineering Service advised that this question would be taken on notice, which I just stated. Further information has been provided by Executive Manager Engineering Service. The Shire's Wicket Specialist has the work tentatively scheduled for this financial year after the current cricket season. This will include extensive remedial works to the senior cricket pitches closest to the pavilion. Once we have the scope of works formalised and the timing confirmed, we will organise engagement with the relevant clubs. So that's a summary of that. So item number 8 is receiving of petitions, presentations and deputations. 8.1 petitions is nil. Then we head to page 14, 8.2 presentations is nil. 8.3 deputations. Just wanted to check with members of the public if they'd like to make an application to make a deputation, which is basically a statement. Take that as a no. Deputy silence is a no. So we're still on page 14. Is item number 9, application for leave of absence, that is nil. Item number 10 is confirmation of minutes, we're on page 15. 10.1 is confirmation of minutes from the ordinary council meeting on the 22nd of January 2025. I saw Councillor Mencheli first, who's going to move it. Councillor Hughes is going to second it. Anyone likely to speak against? So all those in favour by a show of hands. That's 8-0, that's carried. We are still on page 15. 10.2 is confirmation of minutes from the annual general meeting of electors held 22nd of January 2025. Councillor Hughes is moving. Councillor Mencheli is seconding. Anyone likely to speak against? So all those in favour by a show of hands. That's 8-0, that's carried. And then we've got 10.3 notes from the Council Forum meeting held 19th of February 2025. It's a new item, so I just wanted to check with councillors, is there any queries or clarification from those notes? We did have some dealt with during the week, so that was clarified, so councillors are well aware of that. If no questions, Councillor Mencheli is going to move. Councillor Ryan is going to second. Anyone likely to speak against? So all those in favour by a show of hands. That's 8-0, that's carried. We now go to page 59. I'm only going to be there for a minute. So item number 11 is items brought forward the meetings of those in the public gallery. So then we are going to go to page 346, which is 13.4.3, rates waiver request Northern Country Club, A11234. So we go to page 346. Just a reminder with this item, and I'll just read this as well. So 13.4.3, just a reminder that President Antonio has declared impartiality. As executive and members are known to President Antonio, they have mentioned this request to President Antonio prior. Councillor Gierak has declared impartiality. In the same item, some members of the Northern Country Club are known to Councillor Gierak. Councillor Mencheli has declared impartiality, Some members of the club are known to Councillor Mencheli. Mr Hunt has declared impartiality, as Mr Hunt is the board member of the Northern Country Club. And Councillor Hughes has declared impartiality. Some members of the club are known to Councillor Hughes. And then, so councillors, or President Antonio, Councillor Gira, Councillor Mencheli, Councillor Hughes and Mr Hunt have declared an impartiality interest in this item and declare that they individually will consider the matter on its merits and vote accordingly. So that's that one. And 13.4.3, and there's a recommendation on page 350. So after all the preamble. So then we have a recommendation there before us. Councillors, it'll be everyone's hands. Anyone's hands.
Mr President, I'll move the motion as presented for the sake of discussion.
Councillor Mencheli is moving. Councillor Hughes is seconding. Is there anyone likely to speak against? Councillor Ryan, Councillor Mencheli.
Okay, Mr President, I'll just turn my microphone on. No help. Yeah, look, we're getting a lot of these requests, and you know, I've been up to the country club on quite a few occasions. My understanding is, and you know, there's been some financial presented, etc., indicating that they are quite solvent, and you know, in addition to providing some free functions or whatever up there, they are there for a money-making purpose. They do have a bar, I got drunk at, by the way. And, you know, they have other money-raising functions. I believe they have weddings there occasionally as well. So, on that basis, you know, we've got to be mindful of the public purse, or the purse of the Northern Shire, and that's why I'm recommending that we adopt the officer's recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Ryan.
So with this motion, I've listened to the members that presented last week and to think about it over the week. And I'm just speaking against the motion just to make sure that we've actually covered off all bases. If we agree with the motion as it currently stands with the officer's recommendation, it will set a precedent in regards to it. It is a private enterprise. It is has members that pay an annual fee, is my understanding, and there is scope, and they hire the facility out. There is scope that they could increase their fees if they have a difficulty in terms of managing paying for the rates and the like. However, it is well regarded within not only but also surrounds in terms of like particularly golf club, ex-world patrons, and they have lots of different competitions coming through there. The members there also participating throughout the week belt. And is it something that the Shire of Northern wants to support in terms of ongoing and making it bigger and better than what it currently is? And in terms of a strategic partnership now, I know that we also provide loans to them, and that's happened quite a few times throughout my time here on council. If we do agree to waive the rates, this could be justified in my mind that we're supporting them on an ongoing basis and evaluating or investing into the club indirectly without necessarily copying up money. So I guess it's something that I would ask the councillors to maybe turn their mind to, whether they wish to agree with it or not. Is it something that by the Shire of Northern waiving the rates on the basis that we're investing into the club. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that it's like for like, and some members of the club presented last week saying that it's similar to the rec ground. Well, it's similar to the rec ground in that, well, the rec ground is a Shire-owned facility, and they participate in sport. The country club is a private club, which just has similarities in that regard. But the thing that I was really thinking heavily about this week was our partnership with the country club. Is it something that by waiving the rates, we're actually investing in the club long term? And is that something that we're just going to stick to? And if we waive the rates, well, then we're not necessarily going to be investing any further in terms of the budget, and we can justify it that way. Is it something that we want to turn our minds to? And so that my addressing the meeting tonight is just getting us to think a little bit outside the box, rather than once just saying, no, we're going to say no to the rates, set the precedent, which, I mean, that is the risk. If we set a precedent there, then would other clubs that are private say, well, hang on, there's a precedent, we waive their rates. I think that if we were going to waive rates, that it would have to be have a particular framework to then justify that, because we have to distinguish that precedent, then allowing it to flood outside. So anyway, I'll just raise that with the meeting and councillors turn their mind to it before they make their decision. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor. Councillor Hughes.
I can see where it's very hard to waive the rates, but I would like to see somehow that the Shire can get behind it and maybe get government rate grants, because it is an excellent facility which needs to grow. It needs to have green grass, and so that's Northern Country Club, and Northern itself can be proud of the place. It's all up there with sand greens, and in the summertime it's just double G's, I suppose. Not quite double G's, but you know what I mean. It's pretty rough country. It should be maybe improved, but I can understand why it's hard for this one, because it's once you open the gate, you're going to have lots of clubs. But I think the Shire should somehow get behind it and raise some money for them.
Thanks, Councillor Hughes. Any further speakers against? Any further speakers for? Yep, Councillor Appleton.
I do appreciate what Councillor Ryan was saying in regards to how we approach this, but as a Shire, we already have a framework in place. We have groups like our Community Grants Assessment Committee that do donate towards Country Club. We've also, over the last couple of years, provided interest-free loans to replace things like their lawn mowing equipment, other items like that. The idea of waiving rates is usually due to hardship, and because of that factor, I'd like you to consider that they're in a fairly good financial position. We can still support them. I don't necessarily think this is the right way. Thank you.
Further speakers against? Further speakers for? Councillor Geary.
Thank you, Mr. President. I agree with my fellow councillors that this is probably waiving the rates probably would not be the best approach to support the country club because of the mentioned reasons. But I would like to encourage the Shire to support the club in the future in other ways, which might compensate for the rates what we can't waive.
Councillor Geary. I will do another call for councillors against the motion. Councillors for. Councillor Mincelli, you have right of reply.
Thank you, Mr. President. Look, I've heard the discussion around the table. Councillor Ryan made some very valid points. Councillor Hughes made some valid points as well. Councillor Appleton followed suit. We'd be setting a precedent for everyone else to clamber on board and ask for a rate exemption. But I personally, and I did hear very clearly in regard to what Councillor Ryan had to say, And I do believe that there's probably other ways that we can assist the country club with their future endeavours. I know we have provided loans, etc., in the past, you know, it's a great facility. There's no doubt about that. And you know, I'm not knocking the organisation, but you know, we'll have a flood of people coming to us wanting to get a fee waiver or a rate waiver.
Thanks,
And I'd like councillors to support the motion that's been put forward by the staff.
Councillor Kelly, thank you. Sorry. With all those in favour of Councillor Menchele's motion by a show of hands? All those against? 7-1, that's carried. And I forgot to tell members of the public as your items dealt with, you're quite able to stay or go, so we've got refreshments afterward, but you can go without reference to myself or anyone else. With that, on page 59. So item number 12 is reports of committee meetings, that's nil. Item 13 is officer reports. 13.1 is CEO's office. Item 13.1.1 is licence and lease agreement for precinct. 13.1.1, just a reminder that President Antonio and Councillor Hughes declared impartiality in this item. President Antonio was applied with the Avon Hockey Association, and hockey is mentioned in the report. Councillor Hughes, some members of the Hockey Club and Cricket Club are known to Councillor Hughes. So both councillors have declared impartiality and impartiality interest in this item and declare that they will consider the matter on its merit and vote accordingly. So with this one, there is a couple of recommendations. One's on page 65, 66. And you will see, councillors, there was a request from the clubs for some fee reductions or waivers which came in as well without directing the debate. I asked the staff where was that in the recommendation because I couldn't see it, like it wasn't in there. So the staff have done some work on this. The councillors did want to move. It's in yellow on the board. That's probably asking an explanation if that's possible. It's probably the easiest way. It's addressing requests. It's addressing a request from the clubs.
Okay, so the first request from the clubs was that the Shire is responsible for the document preparation expenses. So under the current policy, the clubs would be responsible for that. And then I think in regard to the soccer and cricket clubs, they were asking for a reduction in the amount that they contributed towards the building insurance premium. So as it stands at the moment, again in line with Council's policy, the clubs would be responsible for paying a lease amount that's equivalent to the building insurance premium. So there is a suggestion there in terms of transitioning in that cost because the two clubs have made a request to do that so that they can start working towards the payment of that building insurance cost.
That's if councils are willing to move that as per the request from the clubs. Suggested wording in yellow there. Councillor Polton, you have a question? Okay.
I'll move it. Sorry, that's okay.
Yeah, and Councillor Polton can second it. So as per
As presented.
Okay, so me and Shirley, Councillor Polton. Is any councillor going to speak against that? So there's two motions with this one. This is just the first one. Yeah.
Can I ask a question? What is the cost of that reduction?
Currently the club is paying $409.95 per annum as part of the licence fee. a 50% reduction of that fee for the first year of the licence agreement would be equivalent to approximately $647, which would still be $237.10 more than what they're paying now, but substantially cheaper than what the current insurance premium is. So that would be $1,294.10 per annum per club for both soccer and
Comprehensive answer, councillor Hughes.
Just for further clarification as well, in regard to item B, the document preparation expenses, that would be about $800 per document.
That's your question, councillor. So councillor Mencheli's moved, councillor Polton seconded. Is there anyone going to speak against this? So if not, I'll put the motion. All those in favour by a show of hands. That's 8-0, that's carried. And then there's another recommendation on page 66, and this is about the adoption of the fees. I'm summarising that. And essentially it's making all fees in line with the council reporting fees and charges. These part of that's charge. Councillor Hughes is moving, councillor Polton is seconding. Anyone likely to speak against? So all those in favour by a show of hands. That's 8-0, that's carried. We now go to page 68. Let's go to 68, which is 13.1.2, delegated authority under the Dog Act 1976 for enforcement functions. There's a recommendation on page 70.
Thanks, Mr. President.
Councillor Polton has a question. Last week,
Shire said, Welga said we have to have this. My question is, what action will Welga take if we are to reject this policy?
I'll get the start doing staff.
So Welga's recommendation is that there is a delegation in place. If there is no delegation in place, any proceedings, whether civil or penal, against any person under the Dog Act would have to come to council to determine. So the CEO wouldn't be able to do the enforcement functions under the Dog Act.
Question?
So I understand the consequence of not having this in there. My question is regarding the authority of Welga to impose this onto.
There is no authority from Welga, but Welga's recommendation is that there is a delegation in place to allow for these functions to be delegated to the CEO, so that the recommendation each time some enforcement action needs to be taken doesn't have to come to council. So Welga can't impose it, it's just that their recommendation is that it is one of the things that local governments would normally have in place as a delegation.
Follow on with that question, Councillor Polton. In the past, it used to be council. In all honesty, councillors got sick of every meeting having dog or cat issues. So it was councillors that actually, in previous to this, councillors actually asked for it to be delegated to the CEO. Just, you're probably going to... No. So there's a recommendation on page 70. Councillor Appleton's moving. Councillor Mencheli, that's two I saw, is seconding. Anyone likely to speak against? All those in favour by show of hands. That's 8-0, that's carried. I will now go to page 72. So item 13.2 is engineering services, that is nil. Item 13.3 is development and community services. First one is 13.3.1, proposed local planning policy number 27, tree retention. Just a reminder for 13.3.1, Councillor Polton and Councillor Bigland declared impartiality in this item. Councillor Bigland, those individuals on the submissions register, Councillor Polton declared impartiality as members that have provided comments are related to Councillor Polton. Both councillors have declared an impartiality interest, as I've just said. in this item and declare that they will consider the matter on its merits and vote accordingly. Councillor Bolton has an alternative motion. So just see that up there. So you can see that up there, councillors. We'll revise this through our internal communications. So this is the council does not adopt the local planning and then requests the chief executive officer, etc. I'm not trying to demean that, but just trying to read the whole lot. But basically, it's do not accept it. Request the CEO to develop the education program and request the CEO to investigate establishing a voluntary tree register. So if all councillors are aware of that, for anything to proceed, I'll just allow everyone a couple of minutes just to absorb it. I'm just going to say I need a seconder for it to proceed. That's all. I can't move to Councillor Ryan. So Councillor Bolton, Councillor Ryan. Is there anyone likely to speak against this alternative motion? Yes. Councillor Mancelli. So Councillor Bolton.
So the purpose behind the alternative motion is to provide another avenue for protecting our environment, our bush, and also significant trees. Now, the Shire has sought input from the council and the community, and the community has come back saying that we don't like how strict this is, we don't like that it's telling us what we can and can't do, and that's where this stems from. So by educating the community, we can enforce the true value, not just of our significant trees, but of all our remnant bushland, and also promote the implementation of establishing more bush and native areas throughout our region. The purpose of the third section, is to just create a database so we know what significant trees are in our area. The original proposal seems to be very concerned with big development companies coming through, bulldozing the landscape in order to make a quick buck. In that, we'd be losing our significant tree vegetation. So this provides the Northern Shire with a database of what we actually have. So when they come to submit their applications, then we can see whether they've sneakily tried to anything before the council for their proposals. And I did encourage to listen to the public and support this motion.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Mancelli.
Yes, Mr. President. Does this motion, or the amended motion, require council staff to go around and document every tree, put a global positioning sign against every tree, and emphasise the fact that it is very significant? Look, I'm one of the original tree huggers. I'm really in favour of it, but I do have some problems with this alternative motion. The staff have gone out, sought public commentary on all of this. We have got it, and they've come up with this recommendation that comes up before this current amended motion. So I'm just trying to ascertain what the motivation is behind this particular amended motion, because I do have a problem with the way that it's been presented, and it puts a lot of onus on the CEO. The council can go out and provide all the education it wants, but are people going to take any notice? I'd suggest probably not. So, look, can I recommend that you vote against the alternative motion?
Question,
Councillor Hughes.
isn't it already committed that there will be a register? So the office has already committed that
Get the
you have to do all that work.
That would be the policy as adopted, as presented was adopted. We are looking at developing a tree registry for our own property, but not on private property. If this motion is passed.
That was the speaker against. Councillor Ryan.
Thank you, Mr. President. So, with this motion, the way that it currently reads, what has attracted me to this motion is what's important for all our ratepayers and just our citizenry in general is the rights of the individual are paramount, right? And property rights are basically the cornerstone of our rule of law and what makes people passionate about owning a piece of property, whether it's a tiny small block with a dog box on it, or whether it's a quarter acre, or whether it's sprawling farmland that's around our shire. Trees take a long time to grow, as we know, but it is, rather than being punitive, this motion allows for our ratepayers to take ownership in terms of looking after their own trees, potentially encouraging their neighbours with their trees, and developing a way forward to developing within the community social norms in terms of protecting our trees. Is it something that we should turn our minds to in developing, well, I think this motion tends to allow it, in terms of developing a public discourse in that people want to go out of their way to protect trees and encourage others to do the same in terms of protecting trees rather than bulldozing them down. And encouraging, and through education, planting the right trees in the right environment. So there's no point having, say, maybe an Australian native in your backyard in suburbia when we need shade trees. Shade trees take a long time to grow. So putting the right tree in the right spot for the right purpose. I don't think Australia's done it very well over the years, and that can be corrected through education. I know that I've read many articles with Mr. Beasley over in the Diggers Club. He's very passionate about trees. I don't know if you've read any of his journal articles, but they're quite enlightening in terms of just public policy with growing trees. Education is key to avoiding people doing the wrong thing. If people are wanting to remove a tree and they have plenty of trees, well, then they should be able to at least maybe thin them out. If they have to, it's their own property, if they own the tree. I think that we need to be careful in terms of restricting individual property rights going forward and taking a punitive approach. I think taking a more educational approach is far more beneficial to the community at large. When it comes to big developers, maybe allowing the state government and the Environmental Protection Authority to having a closer look at what they're doing with their land. My understanding in terms of legislation is that farmers and just general people can't just go willy-nilly into bulldozing trees down without the required permit from the authority. And that even goes on like, farmland in itself. They can't clear farmland without the authorised permits. And the Environmental Protection Authority has got a big stick for what we have to do. So I think that this motion is useful for the Shire's get back. And when it comes down to, I suppose, keeping a registry, we have drone technology now. It's not like we're going to be expecting our officers or our rangers to be going out to every person's backyard and saying, okay, which big trees do you have? I mean, we could hire a company that has drones to do basically a mapping, and big trees are pretty easy to identify, I would have thought, from a drone. So staff can actually look at desktopping, so they don't necessarily need to actually go out of their way physically to identify the trees in person. So I would encourage councillors to maybe look at this motion seriously, turn their mind to it, and see whether or not they support it. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Lyon. Further speakers against the motion? Councillor Appleton.
I don't necessarily disagree with the alternative motion. I think the intent is great. The idea of educating the public about how significant trees can be and how we can help the amenity of our environment. I'm totally for that. I also feel like the original tree retention policy, it was the Shire's objective in the very start of this to provide that education to the public. It wasn't a stick to hit people down with, it was a chance to let people know exactly how we feel as a Shire in regards to our environment, and then work with them to identify what significant trees or vegetation needs to be saved within our Shire. It's also a great tool to stop development blocks that just bulldoze the surrounding area. If the original policy gets passed, whenever we get a submission to build a new house on a big property, it'll allow the planning stages to put the house in an area that doesn't involve getting rid of the big trees. I honestly feel like the original policy does cover that well, and the Shire's intention to teach the local community about how this affects them is the best step forward. I do appreciate the intention with this motion, but I think the original motion covers that just as well. Thank you.
Councillor Appleton. Further speakers for this motion? Councillor Gurek.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yes, I much better like this motion than the previous one, approach to educating the public rather than implementing another red tape to development and how people go about developing their property. I do like trees, and I'm a tree hugger as well. In theory, I do support both of the motions, but in practice, I think this is more appealing to me, and not just to me, but probably the general public of the Northern Shire. And we are here to represent what the people, our ratepayers and our citizens within the Northern Shire want, and I think they probably would like this approach better.
Further speakers against the motion? Further speakers for?
Comment. I like the motion, but I would like to see a bit more added to it, where it does protect against people knocking down trees when they do a development. It's just missing there. So I don't know how you put that in about bit hard to put in, I think.
To answer, it's two ways.
Well, I think that would be in the policy as presented by staff. So I think that's a bit of a conflict of comment there. So without that policy, there is no protection.
Yeah, unless it's amended or amended. Yes, that question, Councillor Hughes. Unless we lay it on the table and there's more time for the workshop, I'm just coming up to answer your query. Councillor Bolton.
It's my understanding that there was.
What I'll do, just before, sorry, Councillor Bolton, is there any, I'll just ask if there are any speakers against, because you're going to answer and you will reply. Further speakers against? Councillor Bigland. Well, I'll take the speaker against, I'll get you to stand and say against.
I asked the board meeting a question about what other country shires had adopted or is intending to adopt this a policy similar, with the exception of the Serpentine Jarrahdale, with the exception of Serpentine Jarrahdale, no other country shires have adopted or are currently looking at it or appear to be looking at it. I guess my thought process is Serpentine Jarrahdale is nearly a city suburb because it's grown so much and it's just about been swallowed up by the city. The Northern Shire of Northern, I like a tree policy. However, I don't want to, I think we should be working with the other shires in the country to ascertain what their thought process is and how they're going to go about it.
Thank you. Do the speakers for? I'll just do that. Yeah, Councillor Hughes.
Can I move that the lays on the table, more work be done on it?
That's procedural. So if you're going to go anywhere with that, Councillor Hughes, we need a seconder for that. Councillor Ryan. That is procedural, so I'll put it straight to the vote. So all those, that's procedural, I'm going to put it straight to the vote. Yeah, so all those in favour by show of hands to lay it on the table to do more work. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. All those against. 1, 2, 3. Would you four or you? Oh. So I'll start that again. All those in favour to lay it on the table by show of hands. That's 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All those against. 3. So that is carried to lay it on the table to do more work. And you have to do the reason for that to do more work.
That's fine. We can be guided by debate.
As long as there's enough reason. Thanks, councillors. It's actually good to have a healthy debate. So that's well done, everyone. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to page 89. So item 13.3.2 is state significant development application, proposed hydrogen plant and extension to solar farm. This is 13.3.2. So we have President Antonio, Councillor Bigman, Councillor Ryan, Councillor Gierak and Mr Hunt have declared impartiality in this item. I'll go with Councillor Gierak first. So Councillor Gierak will have the Development Assessment Panel DAP, considering previous versions of the hydrogen plant extension to solar farm applications mentioned in this agenda item. President Antonio, as the owner of the land is known to President Antonio, I'm summarising that. Councillor Bigman has declared impartiality. As the owner is known to Councillor Bigman. Councillor Ryan has declared impartiality. As the applicant is known to Councillor Ryan, and Mr Hunt has declared impartiality. As Mr Hunt was included within the public consultation undertaken by the State Development Assessment Unit. Now, before I get a mover and seconder, I'm just going to go to the page 101. Oh, sorry, thank you very much. And I just delayed that so I can bring the declaration as well. I just wasn't there at the time. So all the councillors listed and Mr Hunt, so we're on 13.3. 13.3.2, so that's President Antonio, Councillor Bigman, Councillor Ryan, Councillor Gierak and Mr Hunt. All councillors, I'm including Mr Hunt, he's involved with the report, have declared an impartiality interest in this item and declared that they will consider the matter on its merit and vote accordingly. We go to page 101. I just wanted to ask a question just going on with last week, and it's not part of the recommendation, so it can, I just want to clarify at the start. Now, we did get an answer, so thank you to the officers. It was just about the recommendation is to refuse it, or to recommend refusal, but in the commentary above, it's got about the hours, and I asked about the hours. If the planning authorities agreed to approve it, I just wanted to clarify about the suggested operating outside the bus hours, even though it's not part of our. Just wanted to clarify that. Can that be included? It's only not a comment, not a recommendation.
Yeah, so the process would be the recommendation is passed as per the agenda. We would also correspond with the WAPC to advise that should they look at to approve it, the conditions that were suggested in the officer report should be included and including the modified outside of the school bus operating hours.
Thank you for that. Just want to clarify that. So I just wanted everyone to be aware of that because there was a question asked last week. For the recommendation on page 101, Councillor Ryan moving it, Councillor Atherton seconding it. So is there anyone likely to speak against? So all those in favour by a show of hands. That's 8-0, that's carried. We now go to page 200 and before Councillor Bigelow leaves, I'll just make sure I do my preliminaries. Councillor Bigelow, sorry, there's declared proximity in this item, so we're going to go to, this is 13.3.3, scheme amendment 21, one area behind the town site. Councillor Bigelow has declared impartiality as Councillor Bigelow is part owner of the area of the amendment. So Councillor Bigelow is going to leave the room and not partake in any debate or decision making, and that is at 6:30 p.m. And I'll just go through the list of the declarations of interest, so 13.3.3. So just a reminder that Councillor Hughes, President Antonio, Councillor Gearan, Councillor Bolton, Councillor Micheli, Councillor Appleton and Councillor Ryan are all declared impartiality. Councillor Hughes declared impartiality as the owner of the properties known to Councillor Hughes. President Antonio declared impartiality as applicants are known to President Antonio, with one applicant being a fellow councillor. Councillor Appleton declared impartiality as a person next on the agenda is known to Councillor Appleton. Councillor Gearan declared impartiality. The application is submitted on behalf of fellow Councillor Bigelow, who has the land in the amended area. Councillor Micheli has declared impartiality as the owner of property is a fellow councillor who was known to Councillor Micheli. Councillor Bolton has declared impartiality as Councillor Bigelow is known to Councillor Bolton. Councillor Ryan has declared impartiality as the applicant is known to Councillor Ryan. So each of the councillors, so as all the names I've just read out, have all declared an impartiality in this item, impartiality interest in this item, and declared that they will consider the matter on its merit and vote accordingly. The recommendation is on page 206. So recommendation there. Ryan is moving, Councillor Micheli is seconding. Councillor Ryan, you a little bit, Councillor Ryan, Councillor Micheli. Anyone likely to speak against? So all those in favour by a show of hands. That's 7-0, that's carried. Just while we wait for Councillor Bigelow to sit down, Councillor Bigelow will on recording afterwards, but it was carried 7-0. Interest, making it public anyway. So now we go to page 262. So item 13.3.4, request for extension, Spencer's Brook Station Masters House Management Plan. 13.3.4, just a reminder that Councillor Gearan, Councillor Bigelow, Councillor Bolton and Councillor Micheli all declared impartiality in this item. Councillor Bigelow declared impartiality as some of the Spencer's Brook Progress Association members are known to Councillor Bigelow. Councillor Gearan declared impartiality as the previous chairperson of the committee is a past work colleague and a personal friend. Councillor Micheli declared impartiality as some of the committee members are known to Councillor Micheli, and Councillor Bolton declared impartiality as members of the Spencer's Brook Progress Association are known to Councillor Bolton. All those councillors, as just mentioned, have all declared an impartiality interest in this item and declared that they will consider the matter on its merit and vote accordingly. So 13.3.4, recommendation is on page 266. And I saw, I'm going with my eyesight, Councillor Mincelli moved and Councillor Appleton seconded. That's how I saw it was. I did see other councillors get up. So anyone likely to speak against Councillor Mincelli's motion? So all those in favour by a show of hands? That's 8-0, that's carried. Thanks, Councillor Hughes, you just checking. So now, I've just got to page 269. So just 13.3.5 proposed shed 4 Atkinson Street Northern. Just a reminder, this was withdrawn due to recent changes in the Planning and Development Act 2005 and council delegations. You don't have to leave council, right? I just want to do that for the reform as well, so everyone's well aware. Being dealt with internally, we want to be dealt with. Being quite able to ask a question on that.
Can you please explain what the change to the Planning and Development Act is for the benefit of?
Yeah, good question. And I'm going to refer to the staff to answer that.
The changes are that in terms of approving single development and ancillary development, that responsibility lies with the CEO of the local council. It's not a function that the council can perform, so that why start.
Councillor Mincelli just had a question.
Yeah, if I may, just a supplementary question. Will the development application be approved? Or has it been approved?
It's in the process of being approved as further recommendation and conditions imposed or recommended last meeting.
Thank you. Both the questions, councillors. So 13.3.5. So now we go to page 270. So 13.4 is corporate services. 13.4.1 is accounts and statement of accounts, January 2025. Recommendations on page 272. Councillor Hughes is moving, Councillor Gira is seconded. Anyone likely to speak against? So all those in favour by show of hands. That's 8-0, that's carried. Then we go to page 325. So 13.4.2, monthly financial report for the period ending 31st January 2025. Recommendations on page 327. Councillor Polton is moving. Councillor Hughes is seconding. Anyone likely to speak against? So all those in favour by a show of hands. That's 8-0, that's carried. Then we go to page, so we've done page 346. Then we go to page 364. So 13.4.4, budget review 2024-25. Recommendation is on page 375. Councillor Ryan is moving. Councillor Bolton is seconding. Anyone likely to speak against? So all those in favour by a show of hands. That's 8-0, that's carried. We needed 6, absolute majority, so that's been done. Then we go to page 383. So first thing is we've got item 14, matters behind closed doors. So can I please have a move? This, Councillor Polton moved, Councillor Appleton seconded. That's the floor. Procedural, so I'll put it straight to the vote. All those in favour by a show of hands. That's 8-0, that's carried. door and grab our, and I've got to read that out. Yeah. So this, so come back on. Yeah. So as our members of the gallery are coming back in, this was item 14.1, application under CP.29, rates hardship -A10706. So there was a recommendation that council, one, approves the payment arrangement of $150 per fortnight, the current owner of A10706 until 30 June 2026, and part two, approves ceasing interest accruals on the rates and charges for A10706 for the period 26 February to 30 June 2025, subject to compliance with the payment arrangement detailed in item 1, and that was carried 8-0 for members of the gallery and members of the recording, so just so everyone's aware. And then we came out from behind closed doors and that was carried 8-0, that was procedural motion, so everyone is aware of that. So then we go to page 383 and we have item number 15, motion to which previous notice has been given. So we've got the motion here, the first one is that council raises agenda item 15.1, motion to change council decision. Still need to move a second for that. I need to move a second for that. That's procedural. This part. So that's so raises. I was going to say raises. So just procedural to raise that item. So and then procedural. So Councillor Minshall is going to move that. Councillor Ryan, that is procedural. So I'll put it straight to the vote. So all those in favour by a show of hands. That's 8-0.
Mr. President, I have a procedural motion to put on the table, and the motion is that the council rise agenda item 15.1, motion to change council decision C.3222, pedestrian access way adjacent to 16 Brown Road and 51 Olive Road, Mondowie, on the table to allow the Chief Executive Officer to investigate all pedestrian access ways and emergency access ways within the Northern to ascertain compliance with the Planning and Bushfires Guideline, November 2024, issued by the Department of Planning and Heritage.
So Councillor Whitten has put a procedural motion. There's a reason there to lay it on the table. I need to second up Councillor Hughes. So that's procedural, so I put that straight to the vote. All those in favour by show of hands? That's 7. All those against? That's 1. It's carried. Information's in the details. So that's there. So we will go to page. We'll go to page 387 anyway. So I'm going to grab that now. 387. It's done. And then we're going to go to page 393, I believe. Just make sure you've got that right. So 393, item number 16 is urgent business approved by decision. That is nil. Item number 17 is declaration closure. It's made at 6:43 p.m. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, councillors. Thank you, members of the gallery. Thank you, officers, all those professional. Thank you, councillors, for having a helpful debate.